Good day, America, from Houston, Texas. I'm Colonel Roy Morales, exposing the truth from City Hall to the state capitol to the White House. On today's program, we're going to talk about an important issue in Harris County, and that is crime. There are two candidates running for district attorney. One is the current district attorney, the Honorable Pat Lykos. As a police officer, district court judge, and DA, Pat Lykos has been fighting crime her whole life. And today, we are very fortunate to have her on our program. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't touch that remote. I'm Roy Morales. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Colonel Roy Morales. Today, we have a special guest on our program, the Honorable Pat Lykos. Pat, thank you for coming on the show today.
I'm delighted to be here.
Well, Pat, first, let me thank you for serving our community, especially as a Houston police officer.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people forget that, but you put your life on the line. You do it other ways now, but you were actually out there on the streets protecting and defending the city of Houston.
And we did a lot of plainclothes investigations, too.
A lot of people forget about that, like I said. But the first thing I always ask the candidate when they come on the program is, why are you running?
So I can continue to serve and to protect the people of Harris County. You know, the duties and responsibilities of the district attorney are many and they're complex. Most people, of course, realize that we prosecute, but we're the foremost law enforcement organization in the county. And so our responsibilities are to prevent crime, to suppress crime, and to prosecute. Our role is to protect your life, your property, and your rights. And to give you an example, if someone is accused of an offense, it's our obligation to protect their rights if they're under investigation, when they're charged, actually when they're being prosecuted in post-conviction. We have exonerated during my administration 4 people who were wrongfully convicted. Now that's a triple tragedy. Number 1, for the person who's wrongfully imprisoned. Number 2, there's no justice for the victim or for society. And number 3, the actual predators go on to commit further heinous offenses. And in every one of these cases, they did. Aggravated sexual assault of children, of adults, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated robbery, and even manslaughter. And we identified those predators.
Well, I think that is great. And what the voters need to know, because we have a primary coming up in about a month and a half or so.
Right.
That you had a hard election last time. You had several in the primary.
Right.
You came out of it and you beat someone that was very popular in the city of Houston.
Right.
That was Chief Bradford.
Right.
And that was during an Obama year. You were able to bring a lot of groups together, including independents. And the voters in this primary coming up on May 29th, they need to know that you have a great opportunity to win again. And we've got to make sure that conservatives stay in control of Harris County.
I'm going to get a T-shirt saying that I survived Hurricane Ike and Tsunami Obama.
Well, there you go. Real quickly,
Yes.
What is your website?
It's patlykos.com.
So we can find out everything about Pat on that.
And my endorsements. I am so humbled by the individuals who've endorsed me. We're talking about community leaders, elected officials, Republicans who are dedicated to conservative values. Truly, when I say I'm humbled, I'm not being a politician.
Well, I believe you have several endorsements out there, very good ones.
Right.
And because they know what a great job that you've done.
Thank you.
While you've been district attorney. With that, we're going to take a break. I'll be right back, so don't touch that remote. I'm Colonel Roy Morales. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Colonel Roy Morales. Pat, let's talk about the current crime condition of the county. Harris County is the 3rd largest county in the country. I would think that crime would be very difficult to control, but in fact, I read that during your term, that crime is down, and so is the cost in fighting it.
Oh, that's correct. And what I'm especially proud of is that violent crime is down. And it's because of the working together of the federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. We are no longer operating in silos, and we have a grand strategy. And to give you an example of some of this, when I first took office, it was mired in the 1980s, if you will. We created the Victims' Rights section, and then we discovered that we had $1.5 million of victim restitution that had never been distributed. And they were in boxes and files. And so we built this database, and then discovered that an employee of the District Attorney's Office had embezzled over $300,000. So we have distributed all but 16,000 of that $1.5 million, and we're collecting more every day. Another example is discovered that we had 600 warrants outstanding for capital murder, and they were in 22 different file drawers because we have 22 different district courts, and no one was looking for them. And again, we built a database, and we discovered, well, some of them, there was a problem, like it'd say, wanted John Smith, white male, 25. You're not going to be able to locate that person. But we have arrested people for murders committed in the 1970s. We just arrested the other day a wanted murderer from 1981, and he was just about to get his citizenship papers. So, and we've had extraditions from all over the world. I'm very pleased. I'm very proud of our cold case fugitive apprehension unit. We brought back this man who had, he's not a man, this monster, who had sexually molested both of his daughters and neighborhood children, and then fled to the Middle East working as a civilian contractor. We tracked him from Kuwait to Armenia to Uzbekistan, caught up with him in Thailand, extradited him back. It took the State Department, the Department of Defense, it took the U.S. Marshals Service, HPD, the Sheriff's Office, the L.A. District Attorney's Office and L.A. Sheriff's Office, all working together. He's now serving 2 consecutive life sentences and 2 consecutive 20-year sentences.
Well, I guess it's safe to say that if you're a criminal in Harris County, there's nowhere on this planet that they can hide from Pat Lykos now, is there?
We're going to find you.
Well, that's what we need to do.
You might as well surrender right now. We're coming after you.
Well, someone should have been doing that all these years.
That's right.
As you know, we've talked about this before. Before you were district attorney, I actually had an opportunity of serving on the grand jury. And you mentioned the type of case that just always made me angry. And those were parents, mostly male, fathers, or boyfriends, molesting their children. And it outraged me. And in many cases, they happen to be illegal. And I know the data's there, and I've talked about it. You probably saw my comments when I ran for mayor about a good percentage of them were illegal immigrants. And we just weren't going after them. They were going back to Mexico to hide. I hope you go after them. They need to serve and pay for what they've done to these children. You
know, actually we have. We have a very good relationship with the Office of Attorney General in Mexico, and they have extradited several wanted felons back to our jurisdiction. And also, we've had them prosecute our crimes down in Mexico, and they're going to be serving more time there than they would have here.
Well, you've touched on this already, and this was about, and I want to talk more about it, about the cold case review unit.
Right.
Can you talk about more some of the examples that you've done on that?
Well, give you an example. New Year's Eve, we apprehended 2 wanted murderers from 1980. One of them was crossing over from Mexico into Maverick County. He was headed to Dallas to celebrate New Year's. Instead, he got to celebrate it in the Harris County Jail.
Well, I bet you really liked that one.
I did.
But I think it's very important that the voters out there, that the residents of Harris County know that you're going to go after them. And that you've been doing a great job. Why you have an opponent, I don't know why, but you've been doing a fabulous job. And we're going to talk more about what Pat Lykos has been doing for Harris County. I'm Roy Morales, and this is We the People. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Colonel Roy Morales, And my guest today is the Honorable Pat Lykos. And we've had a really good discussion on some of the activities and the new policies that you've created. But this one is, I think, caught a lot of attention. I want to talk about an area that has received a lot of attention throughout the county.
Right.
Your trace case policy. Could you elaborate on it?
The official name is the Drug Evidence Validation Policy. And the way it came about, as soon as I took office, I met with our senior prosecutors, the toughest, hard-nosed individuals you could find. And I said, how can we improve the administration of justice? And they said, we are drowning in these trace cases, and they're ridiculous because we can't really make them. There's not enough evidence, and we're accepting charges. So we launched an investigation, and we discovered that they were taking cases like somebody was slumped over and had the mucus extruding from their nose and a little flake on it, and they would swab it. And of course, that would destroy the evidence and file the case. That's a state jail felony that they were filing with this swab. The officer was out of service 2 to 3 hours booking that individual for a state jail felony. Or somebody with a crack pipe residue, nothing usable there, a state jail felony, being out of service 2 to 3 hours. These people, of course, wouldn't plead. They didn't want to go to a state jail, and they ended up clogging up our Harris County Jail. And the Department of Justice threatened to sue Harris County because our jail was overcrowded. But we're talking about due process. We're talking about evidence, and is it appropriate? Is it proper? Is it fair? And so we investigated and determined that the most minute amount that you can test twice is 1/100th of a gram. A sweet and low packet is a gram. It takes 28 of those to make an ounce. Now imagine 1/100th, how minute that is. And so we checked with Bexar County. They don't take cases under that threshold. Travis County, the same. Tarrant County is double that, 2/100ths of a gram. So then we met with the command staff of the Houston Police Department and with the Sheriff's Office. We made our presentation to the Criminal Justice Council that has representatives from all of the law enforcement agencies. And at that time, my opponent was on the board. No one spoke in opposition. And we said, we'll do this as a 6-month pilot project to see how it works. It's been an incredible success. With respect to the city of Houston, the seizures of drugs have increased. The money that they've seized from the drug dealers has increased. Violent crime is down. And our jail, we were spending $1 million a month to put inmates in Louisiana or house them in other jurisdictions. It is zero now. And we've got deputies on the streets that had formerly been working in the jail.
Well, again, with my experience being on the grand jury, when you're on that jury and you come on, you don't realize how much power you really have on the jury. I mean, that's what this Constitution has given a jury in our country. But you're kind of shy, and the assistant DAs come in and you think, well, they're really in charge. And then about after the 3rd week, you said, wait a second now. No, we're really in charge here. And we really need to look at these cases. But, Pat, before you were DA, we would get stacks, a batch of individuals that we had either true bill or no bill. And, of course, they brought them in all at one time.
Right.
And so it wasn't really fair to those that had been charged with these crimes, because we might have 50. And the assistant DAs said, okay, well, let us know when you're ready. So we all said, okay, at first, okay, we true billed them. Okay, and we went to the next 50, and then the next 50. And then we got smart and we said, well, let's start hearing about these cases. And we start hearing about these flakes and the small amounts, or maybe not even any trace there at all, but maybe what they use like a little comb or something that they use with this drug, but nothing else. They were being charged for something like that. Well, I don't think that was any justice.
Let me tell you what happened in Dallas. They were using sheetrock powder and saying that it was cocaine in collusion with people in the lab. So see, under my policy, that can't happen. If it can be tested twice, you know things are going to be kosher.
Well, that's great. And that's true justice there. We're going to take a short break, so don't touch that remote. I'm Roy Morales. Welcome Welcome back to We the People. I'm Colonel Roy Morales, and today's program we have the Honorable Pat Lykos. Now, another area that concerned me while I was on the grand jury was the exploitation of children. Pat, can you elaborate on this new special child exploitation section that's at the District Attorney's office now?
It's one of our proactive initiatives. My philosophy is no more victims. And of course, the most heinous crimes are those against the very young or the very old. With respect to children, we have pedophiles who are using the internet. We call them cyber pedophiles. And to give you an example of some of the things that we've done, do you know what PlayStation and Xbox are? They're these games?
Yes.
All right. What a lot of parents don't realize is they're hooked up to the internet, and these perverts are communicating with our children through these game boxes. We had the first case ever in the United States with PlayStation, and Sony was very cooperative. It was a male in another state pretending to be an 11-year-old girl, corresponding with an 11-year-old girl in our county. And one day the father noticed that she had an email, and he opened it up, and it was nude photos of a young girl. And basically what he was saying is, these are photos of me, send me photos like this of you. My family is going to bring me to Houston, and my brother will bring me, and maybe we can meet at the Galleria or somewhere like that. He was grooming her. And so the father came to us, we became the little girl, and invited him to Houston, and sure enough.
You apprehended him?
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing with this technology what these individuals will do nowadays. And so they just basically were working on the PlayStation. If I recall, you can join, people around the world can join on these games.
Exactly.
Is that how they did it?
Exactly. And you cannot believe the child pornography, the filth that's out there, and how they reach into our homes. Wow. I also have a disc that's free to parents that they can put on the computer itself and determine what sites are being visited, and also to prohibit certain sites.
So they can request us off the county's website then?
Yes.
Oh, well, people need to know that. The parents have no clue sometimes what's available to protect their children, and I think more of them need to find out about this.
We have to be ever vigilant and to be proactive to prevent crime.
Well, I think a public service announcement about something like that would be a good idea for your office. It just came to me like, I didn't know that as a parent, and being a technology officer, I knew about that capability, but I didn't know that they could dig that deep into emails to these other...
And I can't believe I didn't bring you a disc to show you.
Yeah, well...
Next time.
Next time. But you now, as a parent, you know what you can do now. We've got to go after these individuals. Just keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Another area I want to talk about is an area that... it's not a child, but an entity that can't protect themselves, and that's animals.
Oh,
what have you been doing there?
We created the first animal cruelty unit in the entire state of Texas, and we have become a model. I want the people of Harris County to understand that dogfighting is pandemic here. Parents bring their children to these dogfights, and they see their parents screaming with bloodlust as to which dog is going to rip out the throat of the other dog. And then at intermission, they're trading their crystal meth, stolen property, and so forth. No, we no longer will be the epicenter for that. People torture animals. We've become a model for the state, and we have gone to other jurisdictions now and taught them how to set up their own animal cruelty unit.
How bad is it in Harris County?
It's an epicenter for many things, for pharmaceutical diversions. What people need to understand is we're so dynamic. And we are a transportation hub. We have the Port of Houston. We have the aerospace. Well, I don't know about the space part anymore, but it's the aero part of it. We have the railroads, and we have the trucking. And look at all of our highway infrastructure. So we are corridors from people all over the world. We attract the best and the brightest Nobel laureates, but we also are a magnet for the worst of predators. Every single transnational gang is trying to get a foothold here in Harris County, and they want to affiliate with our local gangs. And my latest initiative is that we are going to put together a task force and develop a strategy and tactics, not somebody with a crack pipe on the street. We want to get the suppliers, we want to get their bulk cash.
Well, something I need to talk to you about, and I haven't done this yet, but I'll do it on air. Something at the Harris County Department of Education, since I'm a trustee there.
Right.
I was able to find a chemical detection system. It was basically going to be used for detecting any leaks at some of our petrochemical plants.
Right.
But some administrators got kind of smart, and they said, can we use that for drugs? And I checked on it, and we found out, yes, you can. So at our alternative schools, these are children that are on mainstream that are exposed to these predators. When they come to school, not only do they go through a metal detector, but now they go through this chemical detection system that could identify chemicals that come from a meth lab. And so that's reported to the principal immediately.
You know how dangerous those labs are? Of course you do, Colonel.
They are. They are. But again, these children are being exposed. They're being used by these predators. But this is a device that I'm surprised I haven't brought it up to you before.
I'm delighted to hear about it, and when we get off the air, I want to know more.
We will. We'll
Can I tell you about another one of our initiatives for young people?
Sure.
First offenders, Class A, Class B misdemeanor, nonviolent. We do a risk assessment. If they qualify, then we offer a contract to the parents or their guardians. Number one, you have to stay in school. You have to pass your courses, counseling, and so forth. And at the end of it, then no charges are filed. We have put 4,000 kids on a right pathway of life because, Colonel, if we put them in detention with the other gangbangers there, we've lost them forever. And so, incidentally, this initiative has saved Harris County $3 million in court-appointed attorney's fees. But importantly, we are putting kids on the right pathway of life. And when you see the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of happiness comes from Aristotle, and it means the search for a virtuous life.
Well, and keeping them out of the wrong path gets them back into the right path of education.
That's right.
And with that, we're going to take a short break. I'm Colonel Roy Morales. This is We the People. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Colonel Roy Morales, and I'm having a great discussion today with our District Attorney, Pat Lykos. Pat, one of the issues and concerns that I had when I ran for mayor of Houston 3 years ago was the crime lab within HPD. And since then, you've come up with a great idea. Can you tell us where you're at in this process?
Well, when I ran for office in '08, I promised you, ladies and gentlemen of Harris County, that I would do everything I could to see that we had the cutting-edge 21st century crime lab. Commissioners Court in January voted $80 million. It's going to be built in the medical center. It's going to be 9 stories. We have the synergy of the teaching hospitals out there and the labs. And it is going to be so cool. What you see on TV with those CSIs is not going to hold a candle. Let me give you an example. My nephew's godfather's pickup truck was stolen. It was recovered in the city of Houston, and it was stripped. And the person who stole the truck was a dipper and spit in the truck. And so he went out there, and the officer filled out the form, handed it to him, and then turned to leave. And he said, well, wait a minute, aren't you going to swab this? And he said, no. And he said, why not? He said, because there are thousands and thousands of untested rape kits in the city of Houston. If this had been in Harris County, that would have been swabbed. Now, why is that important? There's something called touch DNA, epithelia from your skin, okay?
Right.
Spitting, sweat. They recover one of your masks or your hat or whatever it might be, or you may cut yourself. No one burglarizes one automobile, steals one automobile, burglarizes one business or one habitation, and retires. These are serial, prolific criminals.
Habitual criminals.
And every time we can apprehend and successfully prosecute them, we have prevented future crimes. And you know, often these offenses escalate into real tragedy.
Well, as a taxpayer, I know the mayor of Houston is proceeding with her crime lab, and it makes sense to me that whatever you do with this within the city, that you try to jointly do it with the county. Why didn't that occur?
Well, I actually don't know what the mayor's intentions are. She's left the door open. But I want the people of Harris County to understand that we are going forward with this lab. And we have real scientists there. We have medical doctors, we have PhDs. We're using the most advanced technology. And what's going to occur is not only advances in forensic science, but advances in human health there.
Well, I just hope we don't make the same mistake that we did with the emergency center. And by the way, that's where we met the first time in 2003, I believe.
That's right.
Where the city and the county could have jointly done something together.
Right.
And I hope maybe the mayor will reconsider, because it sounds like you've already got a great plan in place. You're in the medical center, all the technology there. I know there's fiber there because I know the company that helps produce this phonoscope has fiber there, and that's going to be great. You're going to need that connectivity to other labs throughout the country.
And it's really a regional independent lab. We're servicing over 100 agencies right now.
Well, Pat, thanks for being on the show. Is there anything else you want to tell the voters of Harris County?
I humbly ask for your vote again in the Republican primary, and once I win that, I'm going to come back and ask for your vote in the general election. My job is to serve and to protect you, and I love what I do. I'm tough, but I'm fair, and I will continue to be tough for you.
Thanks very much for being on this program.
Thank you.
Don't forget, early voting starts May 14th and ends on May 25th. Election Day is May 29th. I'm Colonel Roy Morales from Houston, protecting and defending our Constitution and liberties. God bless Texas, and God bless America.